So
All right. Yeah.
here we are, finally, three of us again meeting. And I think what's very important for us to do, since the commission confirmed that they really would like this committee to continue, is we have to, and I'm going to be the only official one still on it. I would like to think that I have some kind of like guidance or structure for how it moves forward, because they just said do it. So in addition to the projects we're working on, I think we need to be able to do that so it becomes ongoing. I was glad that Jen did this, but what word am I looking for that's more politic? We won't be doing all of their social media for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be
That's the bottom line.
Right.
You know, that we'll give guidance, and especially because if you're not on the commission, Kim, you're the one of us that really has a super strong background in that. Jen's stronger than me, and me, I can learn, but you know, there's a limit to how much I want to learn about that. So depending on who else comes on, it was very important, I thought, that they did not think that we were just going to do all of this for everybody. You know, you can't do that when the personnel changes constantly. You just can't.
It makes it difficult.
Yeah. So that was good, but so we only have a little more time as a threesome here before new people come on. Although I expect that I can call upon both of you.
Yes, of course.
For assistance.
Yeah.
Now, Jen, you were working on history. That was one of the pieces that we haven't seen yet. How are you doing?
I have some written. It is not as good of a story as we had talked about last time. It's much more sort of factual. But I think I got a lot of the facts, so that's good. It was a lot of tracking down of information, and for example, I thought we always had a clergy member, and that actually wasn't added until 2016. So it was like almost a year after the first meeting where they added a clergy member. So again, that's not like huge, but it was just information I didn't have before, right? So the other component I have been working on, so one, I think I can certainly show you what I have if we want to use the time for that, but I think there'll be a lot of changes, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time wordsmithing, but I'm happy to we can do that in a little bit.
Is it translatable into kind of a timeline of important milestones?
No,
because
so
that would be much more useful for most people to look at, because they're not going to read a whole big long thing. Most people.
So I think a lot of it is mostly from or expanded on what we kind of presented in our it's more historical, like who started it, right? So it talks about Bill Chetwynd, recognizing a need in town, wanting to see how our town was starting to grow in diversity, and wanted to promote diversity and acceptance within the town and not just in the schools. So he brought together an action group, which can, and then they researched commissions in other communities, drafted a proposal, and basically received approval. And then the inaugural members were appointed, and in November 2015, they had their first meeting. And then it talks about the structure a little bit, initially made up of 8 voting members, not 9. The role of the ex officios, talks about how we requested to add 2 more commissioners in 2018. So it's like, how the board itself has evolved, less about what we do. So that's where it is. So it's not too much of a story.
Well, it can be though.
Right. That's what I was going to say too. And I realize that I'm an exiting member, but I'm happy to take what you have, Jen, and write it out in a story and like present it graphically if you think, Sherry, that will help you guys going forward.
In fact, yeah, I was going to say I would take on the timeline piece of this.
Okay.
Or the
Yeah.
writing, but either or. I mean, I would be happy to do that too, because
So
I think that you can have smaller bits of really written text to elucidate what's in the timeline without making the whole thing just a long book to read.
Yeah.
And the timeline could be a vertical timeline. It could be along the side. It doesn't always have to be along the bottom.
Yeah. I think there's some of both, right? I like the idea of the timeline, especially, you know, could be basic, like action committee formed, and then like inaugural members appointed, and like first meeting or whatever. That's kind of like in the 2015 timeline. And then it's like, and so there's almost like a timeline of like the evolution of the board itself and like who, but then I think there's another timeline, right? That's like when we started to do different events, and like we started the MLK thing on this year, we started Pride on this. So I don't want to confuse or conflate too much those sort of two things. So there's the history of like the forming of this commission and who's on it and like how that's changed. And obviously there's, I mean, I haven't even gotten into like who's jointly appointed versus who's appointed separately, which I don't know that, you know, that's very granular. We don't have to get into that, but I think there is some history, especially that wasn't known by certain people in town, that like we even added members at a certain date. So I think it's important to have some of those basics. And I think we need to tell also a story about what we do. And I don't know if it's the same. Like maybe there's 2 pages, and like if we think about our website, like here's sort of like the basic narrative history or timeline history of like the board, and then there's like what we've done and what we do, and there's like a different timeline about that.
I'm thinking graphically, because I often do this way, that think of it as a line down the middle.
Oh, right.
The timeline. And on one side is the organizational information, and the other side is the accomplishments and activities.
Oh, that could be
little
really cool.
Bits of, you know, fill in all the rest of the details. I mean, all of the details you've accumulated is good for our archive, but for a public history and timeline, that might work better, like I said. And you know, I don't know if you ever read Time magazine, but I've had Time magazine since I was brought up on it. My father always read Time magazine, and my sister and I to this day still get Time magazine. And increasingly, they've been using these kind of graphic timelines, and it's so much easier to consume than the dense
blocks of text.
Yeah. Although I find myself reading everything because that's who I am.
Yeah.
But I think that we could easily, because you can show the parallels. Here's where when the group was developing, they could introduce these things, these activities. They can do more.
I like that idea a lot.
I like it too. And I feel like those blocks of text, once those are kind of solidified, can be used a number of different ways, you know? Like the Facebook page isn't even fully filled out with all of the stuff that it could be. So I think if we kind of solidify that, like, here's the timeline, here's the good text, that can be used here and there when necessary.
And you know,
I like the vertical timeline too versus like horizontal, because if you think about a web page where this is probably going to live, you know, you scroll down, you don't scroll over and over and over and over.
Exactly. And we have an artist in our midst with Yana, if we wanted to have graphics involved with this too. I noticed today that the town put the latest poster, because I sent them out to everybody last week, because I told everyone I'd be around April 1. So I sent the latest poster out, and this one is that really colorful multi-layered cake, Celebrate Diversity, with candles, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I saw it for the first time in town. But Yana, you know, if she may not continue as our student rep, but I think that we could still maybe tap into her skills as a volunteer with some of the artwork, or she might be able to help us, and some of her artistic friends might want to help along with this too. Of course, we want something that's consistent, so we'd rather have one artist, you know, doing these little bits and pieces, and we could ask them for certain things. But I think that having something like that would be, I think people will look at that. I mean, I was shocked when I opened Facebook and I saw that 858 people had liked my interview, I'm thinking, who are these people? So,
yeah, once it gets shared, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I don't do that. So, but people do that. But something like a timeline like this that's graphical, I would look at that.
Yeah.
I would look at that. And
it would make a good video too, you know, for people that, you know. Ooh. And we do have really great resources in the town in terms of our students. Like the high school has this amazing AV club that I feel like, you know, if we could get some students, because they need that portfolio work now too.
Right.
That if you know, and they do, trust me, they do.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So I have used students in the past, and it's amazing what they can produce for you.
And they're hungry. My students are thriving
and free.
For stuff.
And they're free.
and the high school AV director and the vocational AV director both graduated with me. So they're local kids who love the town, who I'm sure would love to make this a project. But, you know, if we had something like that for their classes.
That's awesome.
Okay, so
I like the idea of a video. I mean, I like the idea of like a visual that you can just kind of look on, or even like, I don't know, like click to open or something like that. So some text could even expand if it's like too big of blocks or something. Mm-hmm. I also like a little video history, like that could be really cool.
I like that idea of click to expand text, because we can do the teaser and then links.
Right. I mean, I don't know in terms of like the web design, if we have that ability. You know, I know tools that I use in instructional design, like I could do that. But that's like, you'd have to publish it as a course and, you know, whatever. So it's a different tool than a website, but I'm sure.
But the students would know how to do this.
And
oh
I
yeah,
have to go through Jen McDonald though, if it's going to live on.
Yeah.
But it could even
on
live
the town
on
site,
link, right? That's even like a link to something else that's hosted, or even like a interactive PDF or something like that. It doesn't have to be native in the web app if that doesn't work for that.
Right. A Google site. It sounds like the town, or even WCAT, it sounds like everybody kind of uses the same tool. So even if it was like a Google site that was built, simple, clickable, and it was hosted somewhere else, that would be great. I mean, I bet the town would do it. Maybe WCAT would do it. Maybe the library even. You never know, you know. If it rests somewhere, all we need is people to link to it.
Right. And then we could have Jen McDonald.
That's right. Well, that's see, Jen, as it turns out,
great.
You know, this is going to work just fine. You've gathered the information. Now we just have to format it that it's digestible.
I have the accomplishments timeline I have from Maria had put together, you know, the presentation that she gave or is giving. Is it even, I don't know if she gave it to both the town council and school committee. But that kind of has most of the like time, you know, it's not presented as a timeline necessarily, but it talks about this is the 5th year of doing MLK and this is the 5th year of doing whatever. So like, we know we can translate that, but I didn't like create narrative around that because I knew it existed somewhere else, and I was still trying to get the sort of structure.
Even this year, we've introduced new things.
Right.
In October, readings for Indigenous people. And if Benny and I are very challenged with this AAPI.
Oh, yeah, nobody responded, I don't think, to any of our posts about it.
Well, and I also took a little walk in town, and I went to see a couple of the business owners, and then I felt like I was racially profiling people according to what kind of businesses they have, and I said, I can't do this. I'm going to have to talk to Representative Wong and a few other people. I reached out to Clergy Council as well, and I got one maybe lead to see if there were any faith leaders from the AAPI community, but I did not feel right, you know, peeking into like the typical nail parlors, that kind of thing, looking to see if there were Asian faces. And I thought that was really inappropriate. And this is all about trying to be really appropriate and to commemorate things in the right way. So I've got to do this differently. It's really, yeah. This is a sidebar. The thing I am most interested in doing is having people see how diverse that community is. I think most people geographically don't even envision the map of the world and all the different countries people come from. And within those countries, how many different subsets of culture there are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and you start from just, you know, Pakistan and India, and you move over all the way over to the Pacific Ocean, and you've got so many different kinds of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in Malaysia, and there was so many different types of even people from Malaysia who were Malay, who came from different kinds of backgrounds. But so I felt really awkward today, and I went home. I was walking around and I went home. I thought it was just wrong.
You know who was very helpful with International Women's Day and that whole thing was the chamber. They were like, they have these relationships already that we were able to go to them and say, this is what we're trying to do. Who do you think would want to be a part of it? And they gave us a list, which is why I ended up with 21 videos. Because at that point, like, how do you say no to any of them? You know what I mean?
You know, I'm the one who gave you the connection to the chamber, who has not been a responsive person for me. But I don't think we have that many AAPI business people in the community. And I'm not sure how many of them even will participate in the chamber if they join such thing.
Well,
I don't
think
know.
It's worth doing a.
I will do that, you know, the chamber as well. But I just, like I said, what I was doing today felt wrong. It felt like the opposite of what we're trying to do. The thing that I got that was nice is people said, the two places where I actually got to speak to people said that they said, fortunately, Wakefield has been a safe place for them.
That's good.
That's good.
They hadn't experienced hostility. The other thing is Benny was supposed to check with the schools, because if there are Vietnamese students, Cambodian students, Korean students, Filipino, those families live in the community. And I don't know what she's found out so far, but we've not gotten, as usual, you do a call, you don't get anything. You have to tap people.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe when's our last meeting or our next meeting? What's the next 20th? WHRC meeting? Next week?
The 20th? Yeah.
The 20th.
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from yesterday.
You know, maybe it's a super grassroots effort where it's like everybody asks somebody they know, you know what I mean? Because maybe they don't belong to the chamber, but there definitely are strong families and business owners in the community. And we just got to figure out who knows them. Like you said, it's all personal connections.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped by Joy Tailoring, but they're closed until May 19th.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah. They've been closed for a long time. They just shut down their operations.
Do you know Kathy at Aria in downtown? She's amazing. And her daughter also runs the spa with her, like the nail salon with her.
What's her background?
I'm not 100% sure just because I haven't been there in a long time, but I remember, like, I've spent so much time, and the daughter is like learning how to take over the business, and they are, but I don't think they're part of the chamber. So it's like one of those things where somebody has to know them like that.
But they're Asian Americans?
Yes. Yep.
I'll stop there and I'll tell them you were a customer. Where you said
yes, for years. Okay. Yes. And the only reason I'm not now is like, what do I need nails for? Because, you know, it's like, but I loved it. They are the nicest family. And the daughter is the mother and daughter. Like, she's totally inspiring her daughter to like take over the business. It's really great to watch. It really is.
I mean, I was across the street. There were two other nail type places. And like I said, I felt like a voyeur. I felt like it was so inappropriate. I didn't even check at Aria. And they're right there next to where I was. I was by Sakura, you know, so it's two doors down.
I think it's like, if you know somebody and you know, it's like any other like thing. It's like, the Wakefield community is funny. Like some people are rushed to join the chamber, and then there are people like, I'm just gonna like do, hang out on my own. But we all know them,
I was a member of the chamber for a while as well. But then it was not really I was actually about 3 years, but it wasn't really the right organization. And what I did is I actually sent an email to someone who was still at the chamber, who I knew quite well while I was there, and I never got an answer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the North Shore Chamber. That was not the Wakefield specifically.
So maybe
I'll try the Wakefield Chamber again.
Or the strategy might be, let's put it on the agenda for the next WHRC meeting and say, can we all do our due diligence and reach out to our networks and see if we know anybody that, would love to be a part of this? Because I felt like that's why what we did this last month was so good, is everybody started reaching out to people they knew and being like, this is cool. You should do it. You should tell your story. And the interest kind of grew on its own.
And I tell you, because, the first thing people said, we'll do book readings, but representing which of hundreds of different possible cultures. I don't think book readings work for this. If anything, you need like an interactive map where people can click on, Cambodia, and then we'll see all the different possible cultures within that country. I mean, that's more sophisticated. That's internet type stuff. But since we can't do a live map, which would be, if we could do this live, we could have an incredible thing that kids could build for us as a geography project on a wall in Town Hall or the AmeriCol Center, where people can go in and look at this map and see, all the different things. And it would be old school, but I think people would enjoy that.
Yeah, it'd be cool
electronically. No.
And if the map, if we had towns like business owners or community leaders that were from that part that could then tell their story, it ties it all together. I love it,
I know. I mean, that's the kind of thing. I'm like I said, I do a lot of graphic type stuff, and that's the kind of stuff I would enjoy. And I'm thinking the most important thing we can do for AAPI, and this is getting off where our meeting is here, is to celebrate the vastness of that and the diversity of that culture, not individual ones, but just say, look at this. Look how rich this is. Did you realize? And kids, I don't think, understand geography anymore. They don't read maps. I hope your kids are, Jen, but I know that a lot of kids, if you asked them where something is in the world, they wouldn't even know where it is. They wouldn't know what continent it was on.
I'm so bad at geography, Sherry. I'm sorry.
It was one of my favorite things when I was in school.
Not me.
I loved it. And to this day, I still love maps. I absolutely love maps. I actually have gone to museums with ancient cartography. They have, and got to touch things that were from early centuries that were so exciting. My sister loves maps too. Williams College has some maps in their library, in one of their libraries. My sister and I specifically went there, and the day we were there, a scholar had gotten permission to bring out these maps, and we were there, and we got to look at these maps. And these were really early ones, where the earth is practically flat, kind of thing. So, but anyway, that kind of thing is what makes people appreciate. They need to see things. And but I don't know how we're going to do this in 1 month's time, And yes, the stories, although I don't know how many, some of the stories are very painful. They're very, very painful, especially Southeast Asians, very painful.
They are, but you never, one of the funny things is that sometimes we think people, don't want to tell their story, but sometimes they do. And so maybe we leave it as a very kind of like fluid, informational, historical thing. And we open it up. If we know people that want to tell their story, they're welcome to do so through the platform of the WHRC.
Yeah. The only thing that there might be reluctance to be public, because even though that we have been fortunate to not have incidents here in Wakefield, at least none that we've heard of or the people I spoke to have experienced, people might be very nervous about being public and might not want to speak out and be identified. I mean, like I said, some people are very visible because they own businesses in town, and the businesses are Thai restaurants or Chinese restaurants or whatever, and people, Indian, Maya's one of my favorites. But yeah,
that's what I wondered. If we're talking about business owners, do we care? And probably if they live in Wakefield, or is it just live and or do business in Wakefield? So there's some sort of, you know what I mean?
If your primary business is in Wakefield and you have retail, you virtually live here, because retail is just, if you've ever worked retail, you know that it consumes your hours. So they're part of the community, of Wakefield's community.
Okay, that's
either way.
Fine. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if we had some sort of.
Because we're all part of multiple communities when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it maybe that's it too. Maybe it's not just business owners. Maybe it's educators if they've come here and they're teaching in the schools, or we can open it up kind of like what we did with International Women's Day. If you have a story that you'd like to share, we have a platform. We just have to come up with what's the format that story is going to be told in, so it's consistent.
Yeah, and like I said, just doing book readings will not be, that won't do it. Because which group do you choose to read?
Well, and you might be able to do multiple, right? Like, I mean, but you're right. Even if you get 5 books, one's about a Filipino point of view, one's a Chinese point of view, one's a Japanese, one's a, you're still missing a ton, right? But we do that anytime we tell like own voices stories, right? Like we're only picking a few, so we're never going to get the whole gamut of somebody's experience.
Well, this is just a different kind of group, because it's so many diverse pieces to it. When you talk about the women, it's women, and women can come from all different walks of life, true, but it's not as if you're looking for women from X, women from Y, women from Z. Or,
no, but like when we did the Native, it's not like we were looking for, okay, we got to get a Cheyenne and a Hopi, and so it's just, I mean, that's a diverse community too, and we didn't, right or wrong, we didn't get everything, right? But because you can only pick 4 or 5 books to read through the month, so you have to. But I think if we present it, so I'm not saying we have to do book readings at all, but like if we did decide to do something, you could have some sort of intro to say, listen, we recognize that the AAPI community is super diverse, and there's only, there's all these different things. We've selected these because they touch on some different things, but there's so much more out there, right? And so you could put some sort of disclaimer or statement on every one to say, this is a very small piece, and it was chosen because whatever reason, because we thought it represented a wide swath, or because for whatever reason. So.
Well, that's why, like I said, I would like to put our energy into something that is more inclusive.
No, I agree too. Yeah.
But anyway, so Benny and I have had personal conversations, but we haven't had an open meeting yet. And what I will do is we'll plan a meeting, and then we'll invite you to come too. So because all the brainstorming we've been doing right here is more than Benny and I could do together, just the two of us. What we did is we pretty much divvied up who we would try to speak with, because we are not of those cultures. We are not AAPI, and we don't presume to understand. So, and that's what I even said to the couple of people I spoke to today. I said, I'm obviously, not of the AAPI community. I said, but I'd like to understand more and learn more, and I want to make sure that whatever we do is really appropriate. And people were like, oh, okay, but again, the owners were not there, and I have 2 owners I need to contact, and I will contact Kathy and Aria as well. I mean, that's a start. And I will contact Representative Wong, and I hope Benny's gotten through to the schools, because I think that would be a really important place, because that's the easiest place to identify people with different backgrounds.
What I just thought of, and I don't know who might be able to help us with this, but pre-COVID, when Metco used to do their international night, that was so awesome, because it was like they tapped all the families in the school who had different cultural backgrounds, and they could bring like it was like food mostly, but food and culture out. And so like you walked around the civic center or the middle school or something. And, there was tables for Thailand or tables for
like Lowell
Eritrea
Festival.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right. Jamaica and like all these different things. And I mean, so I'm just thinking like in terms of AAPI though, I think there was Filipino and I know there was Thai and Chinese and Japanese. So like that could be potentially somebody to
I
don't know if they would have
what challenges us. If it was a live event, I mean, it would be so much easier.
Yeah.
It really would be. But trying to come up with something that's compelling.
Oh, no, I just meant like the fact that they've done something where they brought in some, folks who got to share something. Maybe they would have those contacts who are still in the school system who could be people who might help us with this project too. That's what I meant. Not that we would recreate that, because we can't recreate that.
Well, I'm hoping that Benny has had some success in making, because like I said, we divided up what we were going to do. And so far, neither one of us is picked.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion, maybe as like because we're talking about having to do this before the end of April, right? Essentially. Yeah,
it's something that's going to occur in May.
In May, right? So we have to have like a plan at least. And something that I thought you guys did, I can't remember if it was before I joined or after. There was almost like a panel discussion that was, what was it for? My goodness, I cannot remember. But that might be something kind of interesting if you did something like that, like an open discussion, maybe where you invite somebody like that hosts kind of like something that way, you know what I'm saying? And we invite people to come. And by then in May, with WCAT's help, who seemed super excited about Women's Day, maybe they would kind of use a studio. Maybe we invite and we do like a Q&A kind of thing.
But again, first of all, we don't know if we can put that many people together in one place. The other thing though is I think there's going to be a lot of reluctance on the part of people of AAPI background right now to be more public, because of, even though things are fine in Wakefield, I just think there might be a reluctance to be public in that way.
Unless we specifically ask connections that we have. That's going to be the key. If we each can pull together, the group can pull together 4 panel members that are business owners and want to kind of tell their story, that might be a good way to do it. And the interactive map is awesome, but what happens if we can't get it done? Whereas I think the panel discussion, maybe some other people might jump on, like WCAT, maybe the school, like you said, and help us kind of put that together.
And I feel like a lot of people, depending on what if the purpose is just I don't know, I'm speaking of my own experience in my company. We've been having a lot of panels where people are speaking out again about bias that they have experienced and coming forward in that vulnerable way. So I guess we'd have to really decide, what is the purpose? Is it to talk about?
Because that's not really what we're addressing here.
Right.
What we're trying to do is celebrate. It's supposed to be a celebration and a commemoration, rather than an investigation of difficulties and prejudice and racism.
Right. But if we get people super excited, like the business owners that we talked to were like, I'm dying to tell my story. It doesn't necessarily need to be like your sad story. It could be like, this is what I do. This is who I am. I don't know a lot of people here. This is my business. I'm super excited. Or this is the role I play in the town. Or this is my family. My son's in the 8th grade. Like they're, or maybe that's just me because I love to talk about myself. I don't know. But maybe, maybe we let them dictate what the theme is. If we bring it to the group and say, does anybody have anybody that would love to be a part of this? And what does it look like from your perspective? Because that's kind of what our role is. Like, we're supposed to communicate, their perspective. Like, what do you want it to look like? What do you want to, like, what's your story? You can tell whatever you want. We're just the platform. And maybe that's it. It's just stories. Like Sherry said, you know, Sherry, you said it yourself, like the biggest thing is like stories, right? We're all drawn to people's stories. Whether they're, you know, I built my business, you know, I was slinging papers and then I opened a diner, like whatever it is, whether the story is super happy or super sad, we're thriving for that right now.
And we also have to recognize the fact that the three of us are public people who are talkative. And it's hard to find people who are comfortable really being in the spotlight like that. And I'm going to say something, and I hope that this is not, again, like a racial profiling, but I found my Asian acquaintances to be far more quiet and reticent than I am to be out there and talk. I mean, there's very few people out there like Ming on TV, you know, with his restaurant news, that kind of personality. I don't know, maybe Kathy at Aria is somebody who is like that, who is more open, but I don't know her. But these are all good ideas. We should get back to our subcommittees work, because we've got, actually one thing we got some work done on the history. The timeline thing is, I haven't gotten any feedback, and I was supposed to get feedback from the rest of the commissions, and I still feel like they're misunderstanding that all we're looking to do is provide information. We're not advocating anything. We're not appropriating anything. We're just providing information. And I keep getting pushback, and I thinking, what am I not saying clearly about this? I don't know. So I'm still waiting for some feedback from them, and I haven't gotten any.
Put it on the agenda again.
I will. I'm going to put it on the agenda again, because, you know, and like I said, this is not something that it's time sensitive, but it would be nice to get it done. Well,
from an outsider, listen, I know this is being recorded, and I know I'm on my way out, so I can just, but you're right though, Sherry, because there is such a lag time between things that, like, you have a great idea and then you wait for feedback, and we're only meeting every month. So you're right. Like, there is something. So
yeah, because we're not allowed to meet less formally.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So there's gotta be a way, and I don't know what it is, but there's gotta be a way to make this easier for you guys going forward. There has to be. I don't know what it is, but.
Well, COVID also makes it more difficult. I'm sure, Jen, you have experience with the live. Was it easier when everything was live in terms of being able to get things done?
I mean, it actually doesn't run all that differently.
Oh, it doesn't.
Like the meetings themselves, you know, I mean, because they stick to the agenda and that's what you discuss. So, so there was still that, you know, if anything needed to be created, it all had to be like assigned to somebody who was going to do it and then send it, and you can respond to that person individually with your feedback, and then they compile it. So it's the same thing. It's just people probably are inundated with emails and stuff. And so, I mean, I know I on a different committee that I'm on, I'm owed, or I owe some things that I haven't sent back to. So I think you could certainly send out another email to the group asking for individual, you know, please send me your feedback. Do not reply all, but send me.
I just wrote that down. Reminded to myself.
I think it gets lost. You know, we've got all this to-do list that come out of the big meetings, and then it gets buried in your email. You forget about it. So.
And why I would think this would be any different than the client associations I work with, have volunteer committees.
Yeah.
I mean, the group that I just stopped managing so that I could be semi-retired, they actually initiated something last year because we had an absolutely fabulous president. And every other week, she has a portion of the committees have to do a report in. And she has this half-hour session, and she says, okay, committees XYZ report in this week, and it keeps them accountable. because otherwise they meet like every other month, every 2 months, and you don't know if anyone's doing the work they're supposed to do. So I think we are very accountable. This is a very good body in terms of people doing the work, but in terms of getting feedback from the others in the body, it's difficult. Anyway, I did, when you said that, I was just writing it down and I was putting it in the minutes. Remind the people to send feedback about the time.
You guys you're not allowed, because of the collaboration aspect, to use like a Slack or some kind of project management software. Got it.
No, cannot. Like I said, Benny and I had an informal conversation. There's only 2 of us before we even will go out and do an open committee, because we have to formulate an agenda. Right. So that's the next step for that. We're going to have to put together. I have to call Benny and we'll put together. Because she said, well, why don't we have an open meeting? I said, we don't really have an agenda yet. You know, let's first talk a little bit, and then we'll invite people. But she also put it in the newspaper, inviting people. Yeah. You know, she sent it out to. Well,
we put it on the Facebook page, and then I know I've shared it and asked like if anybody in my network, but you know, nobody.
We had talked about she was supposed to put it in the item, the patch, and the observer as well, in those 3 places, because not everyone goes to the Facebook page.
Right.
So I don't know, because it's just like with the posters. When I announced that, we got 1 additional business asked if they can be part of the poster program. Just 1. And you know, I actually asked Maria, and I have to check back with her again because I hadn't heard back, whether she wants me to open it up again with the 2nd poster and say, you know, you can join us now. There's still 3 posters for the season, you know, for the rest of the year. But because I can do that again and see if anyone responds. But I don't know how many of the local businesses are reading the item.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so the timeline.
Sherry, I know we're off of the AAPI thing, but and Maureen is definitely on our list because she was there.
I spoke with Maureen already.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, she was one of the first people I asked. And then I was at Julie Galvin's birthday party, and I noticed one name. I didn't see the face, but the name was, first name is They, which is a Vietnamese or a Cambodian name. And I have to get in touch with Julie and find out who that friend was and if that person is from the community. Because I don't know who. I was looking at all the names.
Yep, she lives in Wakefield.
Oh, so
I don't know her. I know her through Julie. I mean, I know she's a part of Julie's running partner, but that's all I know.
Okay.
But so go through Julie, not me.
Okay, that's right. So that is someone who was, and it was, like I said, the first name was They. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can email you her last name.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Now moving on to the biggest and most important, actually, of all of these projects, because this is one that makes a difference in how the WHRC operates, is the work that Kim is doing. And that, I think, is the most important thing that we can provide, if, you know, before we're not a threesome anymore, is provide people with that kind of guidance of before, this is what you do. You know, during, this is what you do. After, this is what you do. And this is who you contact. And of course, you've probably not gotten any feedback either from people on resources that they.
No, but I pulled, you know, from what I just did the last month, I've got some best practices that I think, but it, you know, I think my biggest issue is I can put that together all day, but is it going to be useful? You know? So when I kind of talked to Maria about it, I said, I have this and it's wonderful, but again, I'm leaving you. And I'm leaving you this, Sherry, where you got to do all this work. Like at the end of the day, there has to be some kind of buy-in or some kind of, yes, this is standard. Otherwise, I think it's still going to continue to go, I don't want to say willy-nilly because I can't think of another word, but do you know what I'm saying? Like where everybody just kind of does their own thing. So
maybe you're doing too much. Maybe it needs to be simpler than you even think. It's like, here's what we suggest you do. while you're preparing a program to promote it. And here's where you want to distribute the word, send out the word. This is, and just give them those kind of like checklists.
Yeah, and I did that. And I put all the emails in for WCAT and the item and all of those. So I have it in place, you know, whether or not it's going to be useful going forward, but it should be, because at least it's kind of like, this is what I did and it worked.
Well, I think that we should share it. You know, I know that you shared a working draft. I don't know if it's changed since then at the last meeting.
A little bit. And I think I want to make it branded, you know, a little bit now that I have the logo and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'd like to leave you with something that everybody, it looks kind of standardized.
Okay. Well, you know that in order for it to be presented to the meeting, any of this, a week from tomorrow has to be in Maria's hands. Yep. Is that a realistic timeline for you?
Oh yeah, it's already done. And I'd already talked to me. Like, everything it's literally going to be just what you guys saw, except with the emails and stuff that I got along the way that I updated. Like, the town I didn't have, like the library I didn't have, and I have all of those now. So I updated it, and then I'm going to make it a beautiful PDF. That way nobody can edit it or collaborate on the design of it, and it can be used.
Well, that's not such a great idea. You might want to edit it. It should be a document that can evolve.
But then it's collaboration, isn't it?
No, but I mean, if you do it as a PDF that's locked. No,
or a Word. Yeah. I just meant like not a Google Doc or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, you could send it out as a PDF just to say, here, take a look, and, you know, whatever. But then somebody would have to have the original for when and if edits are made.
Yeah. And the other thing, if you send things out as a Microsoft Doc, you can ask people to use the review function, and you can gather comments.
So the thing with the collaboration is, it's not like people can't make comments on things, or so you're right. So if you send it out as a document and say, you can add your comments and send it back to me personally, and you can collect that feedback and then do what you want with it. But it's like, if I see, oh, Sherry made a comment, and I say, Sherry, great idea, let's do that. And then now all of a sudden we're collaborating, right? So that's why it can't be done on Google.
So you can get feedback. Like, so the review function could give you like just feedback when people look at different things on it. I mean, you can even send it to Jen and I in the meantime, so we can give you some feedback as well before next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really that we just can't just collaborate in real time on something
it's a very simple, easy to follow. Like, we
can collaborate right now because we're in a meeting, right? So if you want to pull it up,
like
we can talk about
a chart, right? Like, it's almost columns, you know, it's a chart.
It says pre-event, like I sent you guys. It says pre-event, and then it's just got bullet points. These are the things that you should do, because at the end of the day, it depends on if someone's going to do them. It's got, send it to WCAT, and it's got, you know, her address, and it's got, send it to the item and that address, and send it to this, and make a Facebook event. So it's very simple and not overly complicated. It's pre-event, during event, post-event.
That's exactly what we were hoping for. Yeah, that would be great. And that way, like, especially with the new people coming on, we're getting new people again. And
is there a separate list then for the resources that we talked about? Because, like, again, who knows in the future? But
additional resources.
If you need to book book space at the high school, you have to go through Bob Shiroli and facilities or whatever. So that kind of stuff, or is it?
No, mine's just the promotion of the event. This is more like, send it to the item, send it to WCAT, tag people, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's going to be
Because wasn't there another request for just resources you do in general? Okay. Yes. I'm mixing those up.
A compilation of people, perhaps in different organizations, in different communities even, that we might collaborate with, or who might spread the word for us. And I think that's going to be sort of an ongoing resource document. That's what it's going to be, a resource document. Because names change too. You know, if I came to town, Sharon was the head of the library, and now it's Catherine. so things change. The North Shore Chamber of Commerce, the bigger chamber, a brand new executive director. So, things change. And just like our body will change, our group will change too. It's so weird because we're just all of us starting to get used to working together, and then it's gonna
I'm not disappearing. I just,
Oh, I know.
I'm on camera, so I might as well say I just sent my application in like this late.
And I thought I had a 3-year. I have a 2-year term. So I am done in a year. So I guess I can re-up a second time if I want to.
Right. Your end date is
available.
April 2022, right?
Right,
Sherry?
22.
Okay.
So I can re-up.
Yeah.
And who knows what will happen after that. I might be on the road all the time. Because my husband and I both will be formally retired, and maybe we'll get, that's what we were hoping, a little gypsy life. 4 weeks on, 4
totally
weeks off.
Did that. I'm jealous. So jealous.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's, who knows? Everything is an unknown right now.
I know, it's fun though.
I mean, I have a booked golf outing for September, and we don't know what we're going to do. If not, they can golf, but are we going to be able to do anything else? We don't know. How do you sell sponsorships? We don't know what we're going to have to sponsor. Everything's an unknown. And I get my second vaccine next week, finally.
You're going to make it work, Sherry. That's the only known is that we'll make it work. That's the only known we have. We don't know how we'll get there, but you'll make it work. And
the other thing is we have to keep it in perspective. This is not life and death. This is not brain surgery. These are good things to do, but no one is going to survive or die by this. We're not, like I said, we're not brain surgeons.
Right. I'm definitely not.
I mean, I have a hard time watching medical dramas. It gets so graphic and gory these days.
I know.
Okay. So in terms of the timeline, so if you
off of the agenda, go ahead.
So on your checklist, whatever else we want to call it, if you want any input from Jen or I, send us a copy, and we'll give you at least some input. Jen, on the history thing, same thing.
I'm gonna send. I send Google Docs, so I can't share it. So I need to download it and then send it to you.
Same. Okay. I live on Google Docs. This is painful.
I know.
I really, the problem is when you downloading it and getting it, there's too many different steps to get it into for me, a manageable format, because I don't like using Google Docs.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. Okay. So now we know what we're going to do, and we're going to present to, just like the last time, we'll put it on the agenda that we're going to present for feedback the following pieces of what that we can. The history, I think we're going to still have to work on further though.
I don't know that we'll be ready to share. Well,
oh no, definitely not, because we have to share. Who's now? Kim, you said you had contacts at the AV departments, at both the Voc and at the high school.
Yeah.
To see if there are students might want to take this on as a project.
Yeah. And my friend is the principal at the Galvin. So I imagine right now there are a ton of students that would just love some summer projects,
Mm-hmm. But the ones who need portfolio, the more advanced students, those are the ones that would be really great to get those kids going.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you can get a nice 8th grader too, who's like super hungry, why not all of them? Like, everybody come and help us out with this.
I taught 8th grade. It was punishment for having skipped 8th grade.
You skipped 8th grade? Look at you, smarty pants.
I went to school in New York City. 8th grade was combined half into 7th and half into 9th. My sisters did the same. It's something called SP, Special Progress.
Heck yeah.
But punishment, years later, I was hired by a new school district with the promise of a high school position. And guess what? I ended up teaching 8th grade for 4 years. It was torture.
Oh, they know what I know. I love them though. They're hungry. Let's get those hungry. Let's get those hungry.
Yeah.
Middle schoolers.
You don't want 30 of them in one room, though. Believe me, they are cruel to each other. They are so cruel to each other. And the varying degrees of raging hormones when they're at that age is just.
You know what I love about you, Sherry, is that when we start the meeting, you're like, where this is being recorded. I can always pull it out of you. Towards the end, we can make this entertaining for everybody.
I believe in it being entertaining. It's that's comes from all those lecture halls I was when I taught college. So. And also those 30 kids in one room that you had.
Yeah, no, I teach college. I'll take the college over the 38th graders.
Oh, I know.
Quite honest with you.
The college kids, they'll go to sleep on you, but the 8th graders will start beating up each other. Yeah, beating
exactly.
Each other.
But there might be some that are really good at video and stuff that can help us out. So we're going to just open it up. Any Wakefield student who is hungry and dying to help us with an amazing historical project, please come help the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be really.
Clip it, post it. Let's go.
Okay. So is this something I should put in our minutes that we're going to be seeking?
Interns.
Okay, creative interns.
You need the help, Sherry. Jen and I are leaving. We need to leave you with the right people in place to help you out.
See, these are the resources too. They go on the resources list. The AV people, the WC. I mean, I don't know these people. So you went to high school here, Kim?
I did. Yeah, I graduated in 1994.
Oh my God, you're a baby.
I love you. The two people that run my friend Russ Mezikovsky heads the AV department at the Vogue, and my friend John Barris runs the AV department at the high school, and these kids are just dying to do work.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I don't know that for sure. I'm gonna ask
No, I'm sure they will be.
I'm sure my kids are dying to do work in college.
1994.
1994.
I graduated college in 71.
It's a great year.
I mean, I started at 16, so I was still young.
But you skipped like 6 grades, Sherry. So like we don't even know how old you really are.
Oh,
you went from like kindergarten to high school.
I was precocious. I started elementary school at 4.5.
Sherry, I love you. You read maps for fun. Maps give me anxiety.
It means you can go. There's places.
I love you. You're just the best. I love you so. I'm so sad to leave the Human Rights Commission because you're so dedicated. Everything about you is awesome.
But you know what, Kim? You might not be on the commission, but we live here in Wakefield, and when
I'm
things
down
open
the
up,
street.
we can get together for a happy hour, right, Jen?
Yeah.
And then we will resume having bluegrass in my driveway. You can come to our jams because we have bluegrass parties in my driveway.
Put that on the agenda for the next week.
Okay. I'm going to start crying from laughing.
This is what the meeting should be like all the time. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
I guess it's recorded for the public to hear how silly we can get.
They're fine. All right.
Okay. How human we are, actually.
I don't think anybody's tuning into our meetings, and if they are, they're probably tuning in to see what stupid stuff I do on it.
Okay. Well, we're not doing stupid stuff this week.
No, we're not.
Creative juices are flowing. We have ideas, and
only straight and narrow stuff.
All right.
Anything else before you have to take care of your children and get to bed.
They're like on their own right now.
And they've destroyed your house, right?
Just one other, it was in my to-do, so I just wanted to give like a quick update on it. One of the things that came out of like creating the history was like more for our archives and not for public facing is really that list of all past commissioners and like the dates that they served, which is harder to put together than I thought because there's been a lot of movement, and I don't have access on the website, didn't have access to like minutes beyond like 2018 or something. So Maria had a bunch of stuff. So anyway, I've been pulling that together. It's really messy. I'm trying to get it to like look nice. It's more like sequential of who served and when. But with, 11 seats plus like the rotating student members and the rotating clergy members, like it's just a lot. The list is 38 members long.
Shouldn't the town clerk have all of this?
So she did. I reached out and I got the start of a list, but the problem was because some people were appointed by the school committee, the town administrator's office didn't have the record of the school side. So I'm trying to merge both, and there's some blank spots. And then, we don't necessarily have exactly when people resigned or left on the books because that was never recorded necessarily. We do have when new people were appointed. So I'm trying to I don't know how long the gap was sometimes between like I was appointed in the off cycle because Kevin Dua moved out of Wakefield to Reading. So he resigned. And so there was an opening. So I don't know exactly when he resigned though, because there's no record of there might be in minutes from that time, but I don't have all that. So anyway, it's been a bit of a slog. And do we really care? I don't know, but do we know he left at some point over the summer, early fall, and I started in October. So anyway,
I think
that's just one example. The whole point is there's been a lot. So I'm working on that. I've got that in progress.
Jen, you don't have to be that specific. All you have to have is a list of names and maybe the years. That's it.
And an asterisk. These are based on the following records. They're made, you know what I mean?
It doesn't have to be the month.
You guys
it can be just the
you
years.
don't know how detail oriented I am.
I know, but it doesn't have to be that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Get the book. Let's national treasure it. Get the book that we all had to sign, and we'll go back.
Well, that was the problem, is that the school committee appointees didn't sign some of them.
The book?
So yeah. So anyway, we have some information, and the town clerk didn't have the student members because they, and the clergy members and stuff like that. So they just had the people that the town council appointed. So there was missing data. So I'm trying to fill in that missing data.
Would Colleen
but I've got it mostly done.
Colleen Weiner, would she know any of this? Because she's school committee.
Yeah, so we have the school committee minutes. Maria copied and pasted from everything. So that's what some of the stuff I had to track down. So I think I have some of it now. It's more the end dates that I don't have fully yet, and some of the school committee stuff, which wasn't done. Again, the stuff that wasn't done through school committee or town council, where there's no minutes. It's like when exactly, I know Faith Defender was appointed. I need to probably just check with her, because I don't think it was done on the regular cycle. It was sometime over the summer that she was appointed. So
stick to just years. Don't worry about months.
I was going to say
just
that.
Do years.
But none of them are, well, yeah.
Decades?
I guess.
Just years.
5 years?
No, I mean, seriously.
Years, if you say 2017 to 2018, well, what?
That's it.
May 2017 to April
just
whatever.
2017 to 2018, that's it. The overlapping years. That's it. Make it simple.
I second.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then going forward, we can be more specific, but I wouldn't don't knock yourself out on that one.
No, and Jen, I know the asterisk hurts, but the asterisk makes sense. Put the asterisk and say, this is based on public data. There may be discrepancies, you know what I mean? That way, if somebody turns around and says, why am I not on it? You can say, I didn't know you were on it. Let me add you immediately.
I think I have all the names. Yeah, I think I've got that.
That's
so
the most important thing. Just the names
Yeah.
and roughly in the chronological order they serve. That's all that, yeah. I mean, and then like I said, going forward, we can be more exact.
Because then we also have when they were first appointed and then when they were reappointed. And so they've served for
that's okay, just for years. Yeah. So, I'm hoping that I'll be, from 2020 to 2024.
We hope
that's you don't need to know that it was May, it just, oh God, it would be so old.
I'm going to put it on your cake. No way. We're going to put it on your cake.
Anyway, okay.
This was fun, ladies. I could do it.
Yeah, considering yeah, most of the Zooming is on. There's too many people, and it's really hard to be fun at all. Okay.
Sherry's there kind of were too many people on this one too. So Kim, if you could set out the next one, that would be great. You guys haven't sat in on. This is what I do during meetings. This is me all the time. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to lose your mind. We have to have fun.
Yeah. Well, I hardly see anybody, so not in person anymore at all. I saw my bookkeeper today.
I can't wait to see
I saw
you.
a banker last week. Other than my husband, that's the only people I ever see.
We should set up a circle at the lake, like a bunch of chairs.
Yes. Well, I'm telling you, I'm getting my vaccine, and one of my closest friends I haven't seen since last year at this time, and she and I are on the phone together like every month for at least 2 hours one night because we don't get to see each other. And I said, May, Sheila, you and I, maskless, are going to be talking to each other and eating, food that we share. Because she's had both her vaccines, I'll have both mine. I said, May, no phone call. That's it.
I love you. Just give them big hugs, Sherry. That's like, I can't even imagine that. I've barely seen my friends. That's going to be great. That's going to be awesome. Anybody.
No, seriously.
I'm going to wrap my arms around you when I see you. I'm going to be like, Sherry, it's Kim in the middle of town.
I know, because we've never met each other in person. Yeah. And I'm always welcome.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm literally going to
I don't think I've ever met you in person, Kim, either.
Yeah, we're going to be walking the lake, and I'm going to jump up behind you and be like, hey! And you're like, what the hell is that? All right, are we done?
All right, yes, I think we're done.
Okay, we got to stop this.
We end.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'll write up some minutes for this. Submit them.
Thank you.
I'll send you them.
And we will move ahead at the speed that we can move ahead. Okay, good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye now.